Tourism is one of the fastest growing industries in the world. Its rapid expansion has been considered as an interesting possibility for sustainable development, including poverty reduction in many countries. Hello and welcome to Business Brief with me, Makanaka Masenyama. It is always a pleasure to have you on our channel. On the program, I have the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority spokesperson, Godfrey Chief Koti, to discuss the reopening of the tourism sector. So, Chief Koti, how is work?
Work has been a bit difficult, particularly with the pandemic. It's been one of the toughest periods ever, I think, in a very long time in the history of this world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, to begin with, how is the tourism sector prepared to reopen under this coronavirus pandemic?
It's going to be a very slow reopening. It's going to be a very calculated reopening. It's going to be a very cautious reopening, so to speak. But we are glad that we managed to contain the disease or the virus in the country here. The numbers are quite lower than probably most of the other destinations that would be deemed to be competitive to Zimbabwe's product offering. We have done quite a bit in terms of trying to liaise with the Ministry of Health and Childcare. We've done quite a bit in trying to liaise with the UN through the World Health Organization country office to try and find ways of being safe or making sure that our guests are safe, our tourists are safe, and those that are working within the tourism sector, who would like to call the tourism frontline staff, are also well catered for and are safe at any given time. So those are some of the measures that we are really focusing on, and we're focusing on the compliance of the protocols and guidelines that were set by the World Health Organization, which are being used world over, and here in Zimbabwe being enforced by the Ministry of Health and Childcare.
So, talking about the safety, you said you have liaised with the Ministry of Health. Is there any budget which has been drafted for the PPEs, the protective equipment?
From a ZTA perspective, yes, we have our own budget. From an industry perspective, players are definitely in charge of that. They are taking care of that by all means possible. Those that have challenges in finances, they have approached ZTA, they have approached the Ministry of Tourism for grants, which were granted by the President as a stimulus package for assistance to the sector players. So in terms of a budget, they're being in place for tourism. From a player perspective, from an operator perspective, everyone has prepared adequately for the opening of tourism. From a Ministry of Health perspective, I'm not too sure. I'm sure they have done their bit as well to make sure that they've put everything in place. In particular, from the airports, we were there this weekend with our minister, monitoring and just checking the readiness and preparedness of the 1st of October opening. And I can guarantee the nation that there has been quite a bit that has been done to make sure that basics are in place at the airports. Your PCR testing machines, both from a private perspective and a public perspective. So you have private players there that will be testing people as they come through if there's need for them to be tested, particularly our international visitors. So we have prepared thoroughly. And yes, individual companies have pulled resources together to make sure that they assist where they must, but government has led that process.
Okay, we've talked about your preparedness. Now, how has the pandemic affected our tourism, both domestically and international?
It obliterated tourism. It absolutely butchered it in terms of returns, in terms of revenues. As Zimbabwe, we are sitting on a loss of revenue of between 500 million to $1 billion in worth of income. if we're judging anything, within what we contributed to the fiscus last year, and what we had targeted as growth as well, we counted it in there. And from a worldly perspective, I think we're talking of $50 billion having been lost as a sector, and there
That's a lot of money.
absolutely, and there are over 300 million jobs that are at stake, from an international perspective. So it's a sector that has a lot of activity in it, and this is always going to be difficult to recover from.
We've just talked about over 3 million jobs have been lost. So in Zimbabwe, how have been our grassroots communities been affected by the pandemic?
They are affected greatly. Conservation efforts also went on a downstream a little bit, but luckily the Zimpax family has a very good network of people who have been assisting them in terms of anti-poaching programs, in terms of just conservation generally. So I'm very aware that they've been hard at work trying to make sure that they limit the damage. However, communities are suffering because a young Godfrey who was working with a operator B has been asked to go home for a little while the employer assesses the situation, and he doesn't know when he's going to go back to work. And this obviously has a lot of instability to the economy, and just the contribution of the sector in its totality, right from the grassroots level up to the top dollar within the national GDP. So it's been very difficult and very tough, but I think we can only regroup and re-strategize and look forward to growing the sector one more time.
Okay, that's all right. You're talking about re-strategizing, and there've been calls of the tourism sector to look at the rates of which you're going to charge domestic people. Have you looked at that?
We have looked at that extensively, Makanaka. We set out what we're calling the tourism recovery strategy. It's got a lot of growth in it, so it's the tourism recovery and growth strategy, which we have remodeled to saying the tourism community must have its own economy of about 5 billion by 2025, and we feel we can reach this. However, going back to where it starts from the culture. We have to inculcate a culture of travel. We have to inculcate a culture of mobility within our borders first. Then we move to the region and then international. What you have seen probably in the past is that our domestic, our tourism has been more outward looking in terms of the target market. We always target the international tourists. Maybe 60-70% of our business has been like that. So now what COVID has done, it has taken us back to re-interrogate our focus, to re-interrogate our strategy and our way of going forward. And this has also forced us to say Ms. Makanaka cannot afford a $1,000 per night accommodation facility. She would definitely need to have something that's within what she can afford, also bearing in mind the economic conditions that are currently prevailing in the country. So we have sat down in coming up with this tourism and recovery and growth strategy. One of the key factors that we were working on, or that we worked on before we actually produced the document that is going to guide us, was the costing and pricing issue. We had to interrogate all the cost centers, and by that also we have realized that there was a lot of taxation in the sector, too many bottlenecks. We have tried to take those off to be able to give the operator the empowerment to reduce their price. So that's what we have been working on, and I think from a pricing perspective, that's how I can articulate it. I know it's a long answer, but in simpler terms, yes, we are looking at the pricing structure by all means possible. It's not a one-day thing. It's not an overnight thing. It's going to take a little while for the sector to respond, but it is definitely responding because we've taken off all these other things that have been, choking them, so to speak, for them to be able to charge what is fair in our eyes and in our view as citizens of this country.
Okay. You're talking about coronavirus having made you to re-strategize everything in the tourism sector and to try to come to the last person, the poor Makanaka, so that she can also
absolutely
get something. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that the World Tourism Day is coming on the 27th of September, and the theme this year is tourism and rural development. So in Zimbabwe, this theme, what message is it trying to say?
It resonates with us in a very great way. I was talking about the conservation efforts that have been happening in the country. I was talking about the ideas that we have across the sector to see what best we can do to uplift communities. And I think these are the communities that we're talking about. If you go right now, we have our STAR project that we've been working on for quite a while now, which uplifts the community. We're calling them community-based tourism projects that we've been trying to push across the country. One of them that comes into mind quickly is the Koti village in Chinoi that will be launching out soon. Absolutely amazing project which will definitely give back to the community, and this is what the theme is all about. It's trying to find ways of synergy between the rural folk and the actual tourism player, and how best they can benefit from each other, because we boast of our flora and fauna, we boast of our wildlife. There's a lot of conflict between humans and wildlife. There's a lot of conflict between human and his environment, and these are things that we need to put in harmony, and that's exactly what the theme this year is about, and this is what it means for us in Zimbabwe. And what a better way for us to have the Ministry of Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality industry bunched together. So we are working hand in glove with all these other agencies, and very closely. They understand our challenges much easier. We understand their challenges much easier. So it's a brilliant theme, I think, that will push the country in a very different direction as far as tourism and its impact in the communities is concerned.
Okay, all right. To all viewers, we shall be taking a short break. We'll be back soon.
Every sunrise is an invitation for us to arise and brighten our days. Mother Nature, in your magnificence, has long been waiting for you to visit. We are so thrilled that our parks are now open. Visit Annie's Impacts facility for the best holiday experience. Come and enjoy walking trails, game drives, game viewing in harmony with nature, where you will see various animal species, including some of the big five. We offer affordable accommodation, conferencing facilities, picnics, braais, and there are also beautiful rock paintings in some of the parks. Treasure beautiful moments with family and loved ones. Dare to travel, because every day is a holiday. Remember, we care about your health. So, wear your mask, sanitize, and maintain social distance.
Thank you for joining us. I am Makanaka Masengama, and I am with the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority spokesperson, Godfrey Chief Koti, and we are discussing the reopening of the tourism sector. On this last segment of our program, Chief, probably you want to talk about the role of tourism in economic development.
Very exciting subject. It really lights me up, because I think tourism, besides the fact that we were identified as a low-hanging fruit, so to speak, when the new dispensation came into effect, we have enjoyed very good attention, both from government and private sector, and we have actually increased our contribution to the GDP of the country, about 8% of that, between 8 and 11% in the last 2 years. That's huge. I think we haven't achieved that in a while. Secondly, we are aiming to be a $5 billion economy, which will probably push us maybe to about 18% contribution to the GDP, and hopefully increase, the number of jobs that we will create. We are sitting on an odd 300 to 400,000 at the moment, and we obviously had this scuffle with the virus, the coronavirus, that has put us a little bit back down. But once we start going up, we see ourselves as a sector that is definitely a force to reckon with, and we believe that if government nurtures and molds its economic activity around tourism, we are definitely a brand new version of Singapore. We are definitely a brand new version of Rwanda. Look at what tourism has done there. And I think we can do that. All we need is that support and just that vigor from everybody. Then, and good coverage, as well as good visibility and storytelling, which is very critical. And we're glad that you guys are coming in to talk to us, so we share the Zimbabwean story. How authentic it is will always come from us. Nobody else can tell the Zimbabwean story better than we Zimbabweans can. So I think it's exciting times ahead. We've had this knock with the virus, but I think after that it's just a continuation of where we started from. And 2025, we are looking at a $5 billion economy.
Yes, sure. So before we end this program, what will be your word to our international tourists and also those who are within Zimbabwe?
To the international tourists that intend to come to Zimbabwe, I think we would like to advise you that we have put everything in place to make sure that you are safe when you come to the country. There are no infections, hopefully, that we will encounter. Should we encounter them, we have also prepared adequately for that. And we're working very closely with the World Health Organization through the Ministry of Health and Child Care here in Zimbabwe. Once you land in Zimbabwe, we want to see your certificate of whether you are in a safe space. If you are in a safe space, then you can come through and enjoy. If you are not, we would like to help you also, so that you go back home alive and treated, hopefully. So yeah, I think that's my message to the international tourists. Zimbabwe is absolutely open. It's a world of wonders. You need to come and experience it. To the local guy, aluta continua. You just need to go out there, explore your country, enjoy it. It's there for you. It's your constitutional right. And we are working hard as the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority to make sure that this is within the confines of your budget. But also, again, remember, you have to take time to plan for these trips. If you want to go and sleep in a $1,000 per night hotel or accommodation facility, save up for it. Still, if you want to go and sleep in a $50 one, save up for it. If you want to go and sleep in a $5 one, save up for it, so that you can enjoy the activities and the budgets stretch across. Maybe we need to get out more information as to what you can do and how much you can do it for, which is what we're actually driving at right now. We have a full-on campaign that is going on our local radio stations, newspapers, and social media to try and communicate more about this product. So yeah, just check your local listings and let's travel and travel some more.
Yeah, travel and travel some more. Thank you very much, Chief Koti, for your time. Well, there you have it. That was Chief Koti, who is the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority spokesperson, and he has assured us that the Zimbabwe tourism sector is guaranteed of safety. And let's go and explore our country, which is very beautiful. This is Business Brief with me, Makanaka Masenyama. Until next time, do stay safe.